Hello again. I am Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 here to preview and predict Florida's baseball road trip to Arkansas this weekend. This is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Before we break that all down, a reminder, our channel brought to you by BetOnline, which is your number one source for summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, the NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow along with your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on all the action. Bet online where the game starts. Well, this series, not quite what we might have thought preseason, when both Arkansas and Florida were preseason top five by pretty much everybody in the country. Arkansas, the preseason number one by a lot of people. Florida, the defending national runner-up, having missed a national title, falling 2-1 to LSU in Omaha last year in the series finale. This one, Arkansas has just been so good everywhere, but the Razorbacks 27-1 at home. And Florida, which has played a tough schedule, which accounts somewhat for that un-Florida-like record you see below, is 6-9 on the road. Let's start with Arkansas's pitching and Florida's hitting in that matchup. Look, when we talk about Arkansas's pitching staff, there's almost no words to describe how good this bunch is. I know starting rotations, in terms of the way we used to think of them, are sort of things of the past, but with this bunch, maybe not. Arkansas's got three guys who are outstanding, who can all go deep into games. Hagen Smith is, maybe the best left-hander in the country, probably is. I don't know who would be better. Maybe the first arm taken among college pitchers in this summer's draft. He has struck out 48% of the hitters he has faced this year. A 1.83 ERA, allowing under one run or one runner per inning pitched. Mason Molina, the Texas Tech transfer, another lefty, has been outstanding as well, 3.47 ERA. And Brady Tygart, I guess the weak link comparatively of the three, has got an ERA of 2.94. He's the right-hander. I say weak link. That's facetious. These guys are all outstanding, and the bullpen is just about as good as the rotation is. Now, Will McEntire has been their long relief guy, as Dave Van Horn likes to employ long relief guys through the years and really lean on those. You're starting to see some cracks there as he slipped a little bit, but the right-hander still thrown 42 innings, got a 3.21 ERA this year. Behind them, they've got so many guys. They've got Gabe Gackel. They've got Cody Frank, Gage Wood, Christian Fouch. In this case with Florida, we may need to talk about some lefties a little bit, given the strength of Florida's lineup. You might see a little bit more Parker Coyle and Stone Hewlett, who closed out a game last week, given Florida's lineup, which I'm about to get into. But anyway, Arkansas's pitching is just, it's got to be the best staff in the country. If it's not, I'm not sure whose that might be. Now to Florida. Everybody has talked about Jac Caglianone, who had his 9-game home run streak snapped in the series finale at Vanderbilt last week, and he did hit home runs in those first 2 games. It does not matter. He's hitting lefties. He's hitting righties. You cannot keep this guy in the park. He's got, 23 home runs this year, which is just amazing. It of course, is not even the best in the league, because that's Charlie Condon. But behind him, they've got some other guys. Colby Shelton, the Alabama transfer shortstop, that's actually worked out really well. He played third at Alabama a year ago, but he has not only hit well, but he's fielded shortstop pretty well. And Tyler Shelnut, who's a righty who plays left field, was just on fire against Vanderbilt in Nashville last week. He's got 10 home runs. Shelton's got 15. Ty Evans, also their right fielder, has had the best year offensively outside of Caglianone. So the top half of their order is pretty good. Brody Tygart, their catcher, who platoons with Luke Heyman, that they're decent there. They will go lefty-righty. Actually, both of them are righties, but they've been platooning a little bit of late. So the problem with Florida's offense is at the bottom, it's just not quite up to Florida standards. If you can pitch around the top half of that lineup with Caglianone and Evans and those guys, you got a shot to pitch through the bottom. They're rotating some parts right now. They're particularly not great in the outfield. in terms of hitting. So that's something to watch when you see these teams match up. All right, let's talk about Arkansas's lineup and Florida's pitching, because that's where both teams have got some issues. Arkansas, I look at the lineup. I don't really understand why it struggles as much as it does at times in Florida, or excuse me, Arkansas fans, you're probably thinking the same thing, so leave your thoughts in the comments. But look, they've still got some really good bats. It's a good-looking lineup on paper. Jared Sprague-Lott, the Richmond transfer, has been their most productive hitter per at-bat this year. He did not have an at-bat against South Carolina last week. He did play twice. I'm not really sure if there's an injury there or what the deal is. I wasn't immediately been able to find anything there, but the good news is Peyton Stovall has swung it really well lately. He was a very, very talented recruit out of high school a couple of years ago. It's starting to maybe look like the Peyton Stovall that Arkansas thought it would get. Ben McLaughlin, a lefty, has been really good this year. Nolan Souza has been very good, a freshman. I feel like Arkansas's got some parts. They've got some guys on the bench. Ross Lovich, the Missouri transfer, gives them a nice lefty. Feels like they've handed out at bats to a lot of different places. Jason Jones, a guy who can get some bats. Parker Rowland, who hasn't done much, had a couple of big hits for them last weekend. So you could see Arkansas platoon a little bit here and there, or go matchups when we get deep into games, and Florida's making bullpen switches. And another guy I meant to mention, Peyton Holtz had a nice year in center, but it's been hit and miss for Arkansas, and the pitching staff, no question, what has carried that team so far. Now for Florida, this was a really young staff coming into the year. Luke McNeely, Alex Philpott, Grayson Smith, Robert Satin, Liam Peterson, all freshmen of high regard who were expected to have big roles for the Gators. And those guys have pitched a lot. But sometimes youth in the SEC with the hitters in this league is not a good recipe. And Peterson last week got injured, was holding his forearm, I think, after he got hit by a line drive. I would presume he's not going to be available. You look down the lineup, Brandon Neely, their Friday starter, got hit really hard last week against Vanderbilt. Pierce Coppola, who was a kid that they got out of high school 2 years ago, and he could have taken, I'm sure, a 7-figure contract to go pro. Huge lefty. He's maybe in the 6'8" range, and he's a guy that Florida thinks has still got some potential, but he's made 2 appearances the last 2 weekends, and it just hadn't gone really well. He's not been able to get to 2 innings total in those starts. I presume that Florida will throw Pierce Coppola in that number 2 role again, and go with Neely in the Friday game, and then go Caglianone on Sunday, who has been their best arm in terms of rotation, and he's been really steady. He still walks a lot of guys. He's got a 17% free pass rate, which has always been an issue, but his strikeout rate, 28%. He keeps the ball in the yard for the most part. A decent ground ball percentage, not outstanding, but he is very much improved as a pitcher. And he actually was the guy who was, I don't know if he was the winning pitcher in their game 3 against Vanderbilt, but he was a starter in that game. And I believe got into the 5th or 6th inning when Fisher Jameson came in and just kind of slammed the door. Now that's a guy to watch. Jameson is a really, really good right-hander who looked great last weekend. He's the stingiest on the team in terms of issuing walks, and also got, I think, the highest strikeout rate at 30% on the team. So Fisher Jameson's a guy that if Florida's got a lead, maybe by a run or two, you might see Kevin O'Sullivan go to him, because if you can get a win at Arkansas and you need a relief pitcher, he's probably going to be the guy that you're going to throw. But other than that, their bullpen's kind of been a mess. Ryan Slater has had success here and there. But probably, he's got a 5.50 ERA, probably as much to complain about as there has been to be happy about so far for Kevin O'Sullivan. It's just not a staff that has measured up to the potential that I think a lot of people thought it had. And again, that's what happens when you're throwing a lot of freshmen in this league, which Florida does. Now, look, if you're looking for a little bit of a sleeper angle here with Florida's pitching, a lot of lefties. Coppola, Caglianone, McNeely, Cade Fisher, Robert Satin, all lefties that either will start for them or come out of the pen. And you look at Arkansas's better hitters, it's McLaughlin, Stovall, Kendall Diggs, Nolan Souza. They're some of their better guys. All those guys are lefties. I'm not saying they don't have good right-handed hitters too, but when you look at them, Probably you're more scared of their lefties on a whole than their righties. Maybe it's close. I mean, you got some other good hitters in there, Kendall Diggs and Aloy and those guys. But Florida does have the ability to match up lefty on lefty. So that may be something to watch because I think that Florida's pitching, just hard to trust these guys to win on the road. But baseball is a matchup situation, so you never know where that's going to come in handy for Kevin O'Sullivan. All right, bottom line, 3-game series, it is hard to sweep anybody. The way Arkansas has struggled offensively to find consistent hitting lends me to think that Florida's got a chance to get a game down there, but certainly no more. It feels like it'd be crazy to pick the Gators to go on the road and beat an Arkansas team that is just invincible in that ballpark. I'll take the Razorbacks to win the series and honestly probably sweep. Florida might get a game, so watch that. But I think it's either 2-1 or 3-0 Arkansas, and Dave Van Horn and crew should roll on towards another national seed and will be a team that you do not want to face in Omaha because of the pitching. All right, thank you for watching our preview of an SEC baseball series between Florida and Arkansas. We'll be previewing all the rest of the SEC series this weekend, so be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell a friend. I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by Bet Online.